So Ron and I came up with our program to help people get visibility with people around that they want to grow to, get more traffic and get more sales through our framework that we call the OPP. So anybody that knows the 1991 Naughty by Nature song OPP, it's not that, but offers, partners, and profit go along with our Now My Dream 22 program.
Today, I get to speak with Cory Carter. He's helped many entrepreneurs launch their brand new podcasts. His core competencies include strategic sales and marketing, sales process development and implementation, performance management, and development of overachieving teams, and many more. And that's what enables him to create and launch amazing podcasts for entrepreneurs. I'm so excited to bring him on to this episode as he shares his journey. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. Want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Cory, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Absolutely, Junaid. I'm super excited to be here. We've had a couple conversations before, but nothing on your show yet. So this is great.
Yeah, super excited. So I got connected with Cory through a good friend, Jim Beard, and that was just a crazy coincidence. He's the host for X's and O's game show, which Cory helps produce, and it was such a blast going on this show. I've yet to bring Jim Beard onto my show, on the podcast and talk about how he even got started. He's done 18 shows so far. We had a blast on this last one where we just made a grown man cry. It's a story for a different day. But Cory, thanks so much, man. It's been awesome learning about you over the past few months and what you've been doing. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to these days.
Yeah. Well, I run a podcast myself with my co-host Ron Cool, and podcast is called Hindsight Hacking. And on the show, we talk to other entrepreneurs. We hack their hindsight to give our listeners clearer foresight. We run an agency of the same name, Hindsight Hacking, just with media, building funnels, doing graphics, video, podcast editing, and socials, Facebook ads. Like that's kind of what takes up most of my time is podcast editing and building funnels. And then we are actually launching a new program called the Now My Dream 22 that we'll happily get into the details of that when you're ready, if you're ready. But yeah, and the fun stuff we do is we have a business called Anycast TV, and that's part of the X's and O's piece. I mean, Jim, he runs that one himself, and we came in afterwards, and we're getting ready to launch for sure one more show with Angie Norris. We've got a show with Alan Dean coming up, and it's going to be a lot of fun getting entrepreneur shows online, however they want to have it listed or streamed. Angie's show will be live in Facebook and then on Apple TV and Fire TV and all those things. Alan Dean's will be in his Facebook group. I mean, so there's a lot of big things going on.
Nice. Fantastic. So when I first showed up on the show, Jim was like, "Hey, we need to talk to you because you've got an awesome setup. We want to do a show for you." And I had some ideas, and I think we had that conversation a while back. But I've been so busy that we haven't been able to launch my live show or my game show, because in every episode I ask about, "Hey, what's your favorite game?" and we'll get to those questions when we get there. So before we get into your new project, the What Now movement, not the What Now movement.
Now My Dream 22.
Now My Dream 22. Before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your journey that no one's heard of before. Like, how did you end up being where you are today?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell the story that a few people have heard over the last little bit. But, I spent majority of my life thinking the harder I work, the more time I put in, the better everything will be. And that led me, I was not doing entrepreneurial stuff. I was literally working for somebody, working two jobs, growing the corporate ladder. I ended up having a great job at one point, but it took me away from the family. I was traveling all over the place of the US, and I was gone just every single week getting on a plane. At one point, I was gone 30 of 31 days during the month of October.
Wow.
And, I have two kids now, but at the time I just had one. And that just wasn't fair. Like, that wasn't the father I wanted to be. That wasn't the husband I wanted to be. And so finally, I came to a crossroads that I had to leave this very well paying job. I had to leave this amazing boss, this incredible work I was doing. Everything about it was great, except for I was gone. So I took this leap, took a giant pay cut, a lot of fear, like, how are we going to pay all the bills? And then lo and behold, I left that job. I got another job that was local to in Denver, Colorado.
Hmm.
And my wife randomly ends up with a new job herself that basically covered everything that I had lost. And so all the fear of leaving, like, it was perfect. It didn't, I think we were short like 1 month from the pay that we were used to. So everybody should be able to figure out how to survive for a month when the change of pay, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then because of that leap, because of that change, I actually met my business partner now, Ron Cool. And so we were working together in a job, and found out that our passions were aligned, that our values were aligned, that our favorite things about our job of coaching and helping people and serving people were all aligned. We just needed to go do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so then we started doing some stuff for ourselves, trying to figure out what that was going to be. We started doing different coaching and stuff that was more in person. And ultimately, he sent me on a path to go searching what somebody had told him was called sideways marketing. And neither of us understood what it was at all. And he's just like, go searching. And I ended up discovering One Funnel Away and ClickFunnels. And that was July of 2019.
Hmm.
And that sent us on a spiral of squirreling around for 6+ months before we truly figured out the direction that we wanted to go in the online space. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, when we were coaching in person, we were looking at like 10 people max. We were looking at all this time that we could only serve a small group of people. And then being able to discover the online world, we were like, oh man, we can do some of this just in scale, people all over the globe, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's kind of once we discovered the online space and figured out that path, we started our own podcast January 1st of 2020. Everybody knows hindsight's 2020, right? So hindsight hacking became a thing. And that through that whole process, we discovered so many fun people, amazing relationships have been formed, and partnerships have been formed. And ultimately, we found some gaps in the whole Dream 100 concept, and we found some gaps that if we can work with partnerships and we can help people not stress about a Dream 100 concept, I can go into a long story about that, but
Yeah.
Russell Brunson, he spent 10 years trying to get his number one person on his Dream 100, which was Tony Robbins. So he spent 10 years nurturing that relationship. And ultimately, his last purchase to be able to partner with Tony Robbins was a $500,000 domain purchase of mastermind.com. I
Wow.
don't know about you. I don't have 10 years, and I don't have $500,000 that I can just buy because out of the gracious good of my heart, right?
Yeah.
So Ron and I came up with our program to help people get visibility with people around that they want to grow to, get more traffic and get more sales through our framework that we call the OPP. So anybody that knows the 1991 Naughty by Nature song OPP, it's not that, but offers, partners, and profit go along with our Now My Dream 22 program.
That's beautiful, man. You know, the one key thing that I just, learned from this conversation is that you gotta have partners that are in line with your thought process, that are in line with, what you're passionate about. Anytime you have a partner, it goes so much faster. There's a quote, there's a physical, um, a physical, what's the word? Uh, I'm just gonna say. So the quote is, or the physical action is, take a bowl, for example. A bowl, you could attach a cart to a bowl, and this bowl can pull a weight of 10,000 pounds. But anytime you have two bowls attached, you could put up to 40,000 pounds of weight, and they're able to pull. So anytime you have two people, you are immediately four times more productive than you are, you know, as a single person. And if you look at the number 11 or the number one, if you just have one leg, you're just hopping along. But if you have two legs, you're running a lot faster.
Yeah.
I think that's so much powerful. You got to have good partnerships and be able to find those people and connect with those people and have that relationship to then create something out of the mutual, power. I think that is so beautiful. And it's a result. I mean, you guys created the podcast, the media company, and all the amazing things that you guys have been doing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and what's funny is, so I mean, Ron and I, we work better with teams, and so it made it easier to like do this together. If in December of 2019, somebody would have said, "Cory, go start a podcast," I'd have been like, "Heck no, like I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that." And if somebody would ask Ron the same thing, he'd be like, "Oh, he had a stepfather pass away. He had, we had the holidays, right? Like he wouldn't have been able to do it by himself, but
Yeah.
together we were, right?"
Yeah.
And so many entrepreneurs, they try to do it all themselves, right? They try to be, if you're by yourself, you're trying to be the bookkeeper, you're trying to be the creator, you're trying to be the fulfillment center, right? You're trying to be the sales guy. So when you're by yourself, so many entrepreneurs just do it themselves, and sometimes they don't actually go and find somebody that can help them. And
Yeah.
so we're big on, we want you to find the right people, and we want to help find the right people that help support entrepreneurs. But at the same time, when you have an actual partnership of things that align,
Yes.
then like you're talking about, it's four times faster because
Mm-hmm.
so Ron and I have our thing too, but Jim started the Anycast, or he started X's and O's, and he's like, gosh, we could really do something together, but by himself he might not be able to do it. But
Exactly.
together, now we have something that we can all do with and hold each other accountable for,
Yeah.
and get it out much faster, right? As you're talking about. So
Absolutely.
and
And
it's more fun. It's more fun when you
it's
do it with
just so
someone.
much more fun. Yeah. You have that camaraderie, you have that back and forth because no game is enjoyed playing by yourself unless you're playing golf. But then again, if you're playing golf by yourself, then God bless you. You're still keeping score against time or keeping score against how much better you are than somebody else. In any sport, there's always two people. In any activity, you need another person, and that's a human nature too, right? You can't clap with one hand; it's impossible. The other thing that you mentioned, people who think they can do it by themselves and call themselves entrepreneurs are and on a very wrong path because they're essentially freelancers. There's this terminology of entrepreneur equals hustle is so wrongly like exaggerated that I can't even imagine. You being an entrepreneur is all about delegation. It's all about leveraging the team. Right? When I started my podcast, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own, and I couldn't find the teammates. Uh, 8 years ago, I started a podcast with two of my cousins. We lasted about a month. We did 4 episodes. It was a hard work. We were all in different location. They were in California. I was in Colorado at the time. So we had the time zone difference. We had the distance, but we really enjoyed when we did produce the podcast. So fast forward 2018, I just finished Crushing It and Crush It books by Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna document the journey, and I'm just gonna do the podcast by myself. I had the time. I was commuting 2 hours every day. I was like, hey, I can record my podcast while I'm in the car. There's technology available. So I pushed myself and did it. But what I also ended up doing is I got myself fired because I was spending so much time in doing the podcast episodes, doing the editing myself, and I was like, I don't want to spend money hiring somebody when I can do this by myself. What I realized later on is that time is something I cannot get back.
Yeah.
If I can hire somebody else's time, if I can buy somebody else's time, and they can do something for me, they can free up my time. I can do much faster. So I was able to hire somebody to edit the podcast, hire somebody to do the publishing. So basically build a team around me to support the podcast. And it's been amazing. It's been awesome. And it's such a mind relieving, stress relieving process when you have a team in place. So tell us a little bit about your what's going on. What is the new program you're launching? I keep forgetting the name of it.
Yeah, definitely. But I want to circle back on one
Yeah,
thing with me,
absolutely.
right? Like we at Hindsight Hacking Media, we do a bunch of stuff, but we don't do it ourselves. I mean,
No.
this actual agency is less than a year old, but we already have 3 people on the team. Like
Nice.
we do Facebook ads, but I don't do the Facebook ads at all. Neither does Ron.
Hmm.
We do social media. I don't do any social media for anybody. Neither does Ron, right?
Yep.
I do all the podcasting, and Ron does podcasting because I have fun doing that. So
Hmm.
when we edit podcasts, those clients, I'm doing that stuff because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And but I as an agency, it's nice to be able to provide someone Facebook ads, but I don't like messing with those. So we found a who that is part of our team and can be in that
Yeah.
role. And so we can now, like, we get a small little sliver of it, in my pocket and Ron's pocket for the Facebook ads and management of it. But at the same time, we can get 50 clients in that realm and get a small sliver of each one. And it doesn't affect our time. We're able
You're
to,
able to scale that much
yeah,
easily.
yeah. I can't today. I can't get 50 more clients of podcasting because I'm doing it all. And even though I
Exactly.
love it, at some point I'll have to get a who for that. So, all right. So the Now My Dream 22, basically our whole program is we want to take the guessing game and out of forming a JV partnerships. So first off, we're going to help people level up and get rid of this whole Dream 100 concept. We want you to stop. Anybody that learns the Dream 100, then whatever their niche is, they learn who the top person is, and then they're like, that's who I want to do business with or get in front of. And that's the ceiling, that's the frustration. Like that's the fastest way to fail, right? So we teach everybody how to properly level up with people in the same type of goals as you. So for me, Russell Brunson's #1 on my list. Now, instead of me going to put him on my list, I'm going to go look and see, 15 levels down, who's somebody that is also following Russell Brunson, and who is someone that I could potentially partner with that eventually maybe we'll both get noticed, right?
Yeah.
So we've got kind of that piece of instead of our Dream 100, it's our Dream 22. And then we help people increase their visibility, right? So like when you do your video of any kind on your podcast or just when you're on Zoom, right? Like you have a noticeable difference from any of us, right?
Yep.
And so our whole thing with visibility is we want to get people to have a noticeable difference when they go do things online. And so Ron and I, we make fun videos. We may go in a Facebook group and just do an intro video for like 2 minutes saying who we are, but we have fun with it. And it's not just my background, right? Like it's not just me. It's maybe Ron on a phone and me on an iPad, and we have a conversation and we tell some jokes, right? Like it's something that gets us noticed. And so we are helping people do stuff like that and increase their visibility. And one quick story on us using our own framework is we were in a free challenge that Brian Delaney, Nick Unsworth were running. And the way we were coming at it and doing the intro videos, doing our homework through these videos and actually participating, we had people asking us, oh, do you work for other people or do you just work for Brian and Nick? And we're like, well, we don't actually work for Brian and Nick, but thank you for saying so, right? Because every single person was noticing us in such a different way. And you shouldn't always brand yourself when it comes to that, right? Like you're in someone else's Facebook group or challenge or something. So them seeing hindsight hacking media everywhere wasn't necessarily like probably their favorite thing, but
Yeah.
they loved everything we were doing it, that they're calling us out left and right for being helpful and thankful and participating and all of that
Yeah.
fun stuff, right? So yeah, so we help people with their Dream 22, help people get visibility. We do some different trainings on traffic, and then we walk through a step-by-step process of a good JV partnership and find the ultimate goal is to find a partner. And so let's just say somebody who does Facebook ads and I build funnels, that might be a good partnership because I'm going to, be able to use my services and their services together, right? But if somebody else is building funnels and I'm building funnels, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like that's not a good partner for me to
It's
have.
a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So we walk through everyone from A is what's their offer. We do a business intensive to make sure that we understand their offer, hands down and to make sure it's partner ready.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we help them get it partner ready. And we have people from somebody that just sells toffee, somebody that just is selling, services, coaching, like all kinds of different things that are in the group that have come through. Like it's really any entrepreneur that can sell something online,
Yeah.
as long as they have their offer identified and we can find a good complement. Like that's those who the program is for.
Wow, this has opened up so many ideas in my head. I'm like, wow, that's really powerful. I mean, how to find the perfect partner to go with your offer, because you can't go it alone. Sure, you can. I mean, if you spend a lot of money, but if you have a partner, you got twice the effort, you got twice the people backing it and moving forward.
Yeah, and part of it, let's just say I came to you, Janae, and I'm like, hey, let's partner on this. And then we have to figure out like, well, who does what, right?
Yeah.
Like, how is this? Is it a 50-50 partnership? Like, how are we going to get through?
So,
Right.
before we go on forward, let me hold on for a few minutes. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, we're back. We're back, and we left off at being able to partner with each other and figuring out that 50-50, 40-60, whatever balance that you might have with your partners. I think 50-50 is the most common because it puts everyone equal. It's almost like 100-100, a
Yeah.
win-win situation. So tell me a little bit more of how somebody can, find a partner or go around. What are a few steps that you would take or look into to figure out
Yeah.
who the right
I
partner would
mean,
be?
the common thing is I see what you're doing, and then I'm like, oh, I really like that. I would love to help sell that. And then you tell you what I'm selling, and you say, oh, I could probably help sell that too, right?
Hmm.
But when you come through our framework, like the goal is that we don't have to go and create this partnership and then figure out what we're doing, like trying to figure out the steps, because there's all these little steps and you're like, gosh, that person's working harder than the other person. Like, who's
Yeah.
in it, right? If you believe your offer or service or whatever is better, then you might let the other person do more work to make it happen, and that kind of stuff. We want to eliminate that, right?
Hmm.
Like, so if you have a third party that can help facilitate and nail down those pieces, right? Then you both come at it with, I'm going to go put my offer in front of your audience. You're going to put your offer in front of my audience, and whatever is fair to what those offers, right? Like it's the person selling toffee. That's a
Yeah.
much different thing. It's a great compliment to a coaching offer, and like Mark Stern and his custom boxes. Just imagine if part of those included this like fresh, awesome made toffee.
Mm.
And so, that she's not going to be a 50-50 partner with a coaching piece that I offer. Right.
Right.
But yeah, that's, if you don't have to figure out all that stuff, right? If you just come in and you see, basically we have a JV Rolodex that we're building from this,
Yeah.
and you see, okay, Mama's Toffee, that if I include that, it's going to be like a 20% thing, or a 15% thing, like whatever it might be compared to yours, right? And you don't have to think about all the stuff. You just have to
Mm.
show up and present your offer, and she shows up and presents her offer, and it's a win-win, right? Like so
Yeah.
much easier than trying to
Ah.
figure out every little detail.
It's almost like barter. It's almost
Yeah.
like barter trading, right? Then, but from a perspective of offers and perspective of services and perspective of what's more scalable, versus what's not as much scalable. Like our time is not as scalable as I guess cooking cookies and and
Right.
toffee or whatnot, right?
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of fun things that you wouldn't always think about how to partner with somebody. And so often many people are afraid of the partnership. And so again, if there's a third party involved,
Yeah.
there's it's not as challenging to find that partner when it's just you. Like, just if you met me on X's and O's and you're like, Cory, I like what you do, let's partner up, right? Like then you and I together would have to figure out every little detail. So
Yeah.
anyway, so Ron and I with our Now My Dream 22, we're trying to eliminate all those little things. We have our step-by-step process, including like, hey, a week before you go live to announce this offer, here's a little script of what to post on your
Mm.
social media, right? 2 weeks after you've presented your offer, here's a little email to send to your list of, you know what I mean? And we kind of have some of these things done for you to help every single partnership be successful.
Nice. It's almost like the pre-show. So you have a trailer before the movie comes out. Then you have trailers and trailers. You have multiple different trailers from the different parts of the movie, right? And then you have the actual movie, which is the live show or the event or the offer that you're launching. And then after the fact, you have a follow up, like, hey, what did you think of the offer? Here's a replay.
Yeah.
Here's what other people that are joined are thinking about doing, and you have so all sorts of things that back that offer up. So to
And you
get
can
the people.
verify. Like, let's just say 10 people joined,
Hmm.
and you go find all the little wins that all those 10 people had, and
Yeah.
you include it in your post offer, right? It's almost like a repitch, right?
Yes.
Give it
Yes.
one more chance to make another offer, or put that same offer out in front of the audiences.
No, I think that's really powerful, and so I came at this from a very different perspective. Um, I've been involved in social media for the past 15 years. We all have, right? Using Facebook, Twitter, what have you, and for the longest time, I just used it as a tool to connect. But somewhere in the middle, Facebook figured out how they could leverage the platform to build other things into it. And like even now I'm still struggling to create my own offer. I mean, if I've kind of created the offer for one thing, and it's it's a lot of work. It's a lot of different type of mentality that I didn't grow up with. For the longest time I thought that I was a really bad salesperson because I I took a job 15 years ago where I was doing cold calls trying to sell people used laptops, right? I had no experience in selling laptops, although I did like technology. So I was like, maybe I could sell it, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I got discouraged from sales. Got fired 3 months later because I was meeting my quota, and there was no training whatsoever of how you're supposed to sell. And then over the few years, I've also got involved with MLM, multi-level marketing, selling knives and selling internet access and selling like, two by two internet. And there was Quick Start, there was Amway, there was like so many different products, but it all involved sales. It all involved creating relationships. Nobody really taught you what it takes to be a salesperson or what it takes to create that connection. But as I've been doing the podcast over the past 3 years, I start to see the pattern. I start to see what it's all about. People are not buying a product because of the product. They're buying because they like who you are.
Yeah.
And I think it's taken me a long time to figure out who I am and how I can leverage that. So it's been pretty an amazing journey, if I say so myself.
I would 100% agree that, you know, let me back up. It's easy to sell when you know who exactly you want to sell to.
Mm-hmm.
And once you know who you, once you spend the right time amount and figuring out who you want to sell to, then you can figure out how, right?
Yeah.
And so just selling random laptops it would be difficult. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh my gosh, I have a MacBook Pro, it's a 2020, and I love it because I use it every day, right? Like it's going to be easy to sell that MacBook Pro,
Yes.
but just laptops in general is tough, right? And so I'm the same way. I have a
Mm-hmm.
really hard time with sales in general.
Yeah.
But once coming online and learning all this stuff, like, oh, okay, I don't really have to sell if I understand exactly who I want to serve and how I want to serve them. And honestly, like Ron and I spent 3 months trying to figure out exactly who we wanted to serve.
Yeah.
And then it became almost easy to figure out how we want to serve them.
Yeah.
And it us coming out of the one funnel away challenge, we kind of had our offer figured out, but then we scrolled and didn't know exactly how or who we wanted to serve with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all these gaps that we found, and from the partnership level, because we enjoy teams and working with people. So of course it's easy to sell that because we love it, right?
Yes.
We found the gaps in the Dream 100 piece. So, we want to not have people, have those gaps. So once we figure it out, all this stuff, it became easy
Yeah.
to talk about it. And if somebody doesn't want it, it doesn't matter,
It's not
right?
for them.
And even the MLM piece,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not currently, I've dabbled in some MLM and had some decent success, but I want to do, like, I enjoy the prove it, the drinks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of me, like, because I enjoy it, because I like the way I feel with it, because I've had the samples and stuff like that a couple different times, I now would be happy to sell it. I haven't joined or anything like that. But another
Yeah.
piece of that is I know Russell Brunson is involved. So he's on
Mm-hmm.
my Dream 100. Well, if I can agree with the product and sell the product and get benefit from the product, and then if I sell some, awesome. If I don't, it's not a big deal. But eventually it leads to the full path of everything else I'm trying to do.
No, you're absolutely right. You've got to have to go through the transformation yourself to be able to, like, you have to see the results yourself to be able to sell that product, right?
Yeah.
The reason we can easily talk about a MacBook Pro or talk about an iPhone is because we've used these devices for the past decade. We can easily sell anybody on it because of all the benefits that we see. And I
Right.
think that's what people are looking for. They're looking for the benefits. They're looking for that transformation and how easy their life is going to be if they were to be using these tools and these devices
Right.
and these
and
offers.
and you and I are emotionally connected to it,
Yes.
right? So we can sell anybody on the emotional side of it. Can we? I'm not sure I can sell someone logically
Yeah.
that why they better buy a MacBook Pro versus an HP that's
Hmm.
$2,000 cheaper.
Yeah.
But emotionally, I can sell you all day long because I've been using it for 10 plus years, right?
Exactly. That was awesome, man. I love it. So, closing the gaps, fixing the gaps, helping people find partnerships, and building themselves up so they can get to their next level, to their next phase. Because I think what's really important is as we go on our journey, we grow out. Like, we are essentially a different person once we go through the transformation.
Yeah.
There's something called the butterfly talk, right? So you are either a caterpillar or you're either a butterfly. The time in the middle where you're in the cocoon is when you're figuring all of these things out. And you spent the 3 months, yourself and Ron, you're in the cocoon where you're building these systems and you're coming up. And then finally, when you realize that you have transformed and now you're a butterfly, but then from that butterfly effect, you're continuing to grow and you're going from different area to different area. And what you started with is no longer going to get you to that next step. You have to get off on one bus and get on a different bus. Find new set of people to work with, to learn with, to grow with. And I think that's what's amazing when you are able to work with partnerships after partnerships and after partnerships. I mean, Tony Robbins, I remember following him for the past 20 years on all the things that he's been teaching, and it's just so mind blowing. I remember him, he was all around infomercial because that's what he grew with. Then I remember watching him online, and he was working with Frank Kern, one of the original internet marketers. He was working with him, creating courses and teaching people. And then he's now working with Russell Brunson, and he's working with Gary Vaynerchuk. He's working with Dean Graziosi. He's working with all these different people because there's so many alignments. So you grow and you just continue to grow and find new people to work with and partnership with. So what you're doing with My Dream 22, or the now
Now My Dream
the
22.
Now My Dream 22
Yes.
is amazing because you're helping people find those gaps, fill them up, and find the perfect partner to get to their next level. Just beautiful.
Yeah. And then even if you only have an audience of 100 people, right? Like it's all about leveling up. And so if you and I both have an audience of 100 people and we partner up, now we both have an audience of 200.
200. Yep, you double up already.
So
Beautiful. Cool, Matt. So let me ask you a few questions that I usually ask my guests at this point. We learned a little bit about you, a little bit about how you got started into podcasting, into creating media systems and creating solutions for other entrepreneurs. It's a beautiful journey that you're going through, and there's a lot more. There's a lot more to learn, and we're all learning together.
yeah.
So at this point of the podcast, I like to ask some questions that deal with the hacks and hobbies of life.
Yeah. This is I'm excited for these ones.
All
What I've been looking
right,
for.
let's do this. What is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Um, One thing that I truly, truly love, and I got into it for a little bit, but I am not the best, and that is actually mountain biking.
Mm.
And unfortunately, I was a little bit of a daredevil, and so I would go and I would come back broken. I would come back with I've broken two different helmets.
Oh my
And those helmets aren't supposed to necessarily break.
God.
As I was wearing them, um, scrapes and bruises and bumps, and just too much injury. And so
Mhm.
my wife kind of put a stop to that. And
Like, no more.
like I love biking. Um, literally, I wish I could bike every single day, and I would be.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah, biking is really, really powerful, especially if you do it right. And mountain biking is so thrilling, especially if you're doing downhill and if you're able to go to those trails. So
Yeah,
much fun.
yeah,
Uh,
and like Moab, Utah is my absolutely favorite place, and that's where I almost broke myself a couple times. But I was doing a nice single track and
hmm
ended up falling, and then I was like on this cliff area. It was like, thank goodness my bike got caught.
Yeah.
I was clipped in, and my bike got caught by a tree like 6 feet down from the trail because I had
Oh my God.
fell. And like, thank goodness, because that would have been a much different experience if I would have missed that tree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My God, that's insane, man. We've had some stories with my teammates where they've been in bike races and they broke a clavicle and they came back the next year, and like one of my teammates, he's already ridden 6,000 miles this year,
That's amazing.
and his goal is like 15,000 miles, and I'm like, holy smokes, how are you able to do that? That's just insane. um I've been biking for like as long as I can remember, and for the longest time I wanted to get a mountain bike, and then 10 years later I finally bought a mountain bike, and it was a heavy one, but it's just a ton of fun. Like the thrill that you get. I stick to road now. I just do road biking nowadays because um, I can go a lot faster and it's much more easier on my joints.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a road bike recently, but I've never really taken the time to enjoy it like I've done leisure rides and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I coach my son's baseball team, and he's been
Yeah.
playing competitive for 7 years. And so I got the bike like 3 years ago, and all the
Nice.
free time I was basically dedicating to his stuff. And so hopefully in the near future, I
In
can.
the near future, yeah. You also got to find a team. Again, that team, right? You got to have a team or a group of people that are also riding in your neighborhood or, close by to you. I think that really helps. When I was in Denver for a while, I would see I was working at the Dish Network down there, and there's a big loop called the Meridian Loop. It's about a mile and a half, I think. And every day I would leave work and I would see 50, at least 20 to 30 cyclists going round and round on those circles. I
That's
was like,
awesome.
oh my God, I wish I was part of that bike ride.
I want to be part of that group. Yes, part of
Yes,
that team.
it would be so cool. But long story short, it's a fun sport.
Yeah.
And talking about cycling, it's probably not probably, it's one of the most back ordered things right now, especially thanks to COVID. Local bike shops have seen the best years ever. Our local bike shop has over 600 bikes back ordered. They've never seen this much attention to cycling in their entire 20 years of having the shop around. It's so crazy that in DC, there's a local trail called WNOD, which is a paved path. They're breaking it out to pedestrians and cycling specific routes, which is going to be really cool for all the new people that are going to be riding.
Yeah. I mean, it's healthier, right? Than just driving or whatever. And so,
Absolutely.
I'm glad many people took took the offer, took the chance to better themselves through
Yes,
this time.
absolutely.
That's the craziest year that at least I've been a part of. And yeah, definitely. My next thing is I'm getting a bike for my office. Like I've got a
Nice.
space to my left that is open, that is
Hmm.
going to be for my indoor training bike. So
Nice.
that's my purchase I hope to make this month, actually.
Awesome. What I've done actually is I've got a indoor trainer. I can raise my desk up and slide my road bike under here, and I can
Nice.
bike as I'm working. So that's been a lot of fun.
Nice. I got my desk raised up right now, but I don't have a bike for it. I want like I thought about one of those ones underneath the desk, but I'm gonna go for the full, like, one with not the Peloton, but something like that.
Something like that. Okay,
I don't want
cool.
to spend $2,500,
I
but
know.
we'll get something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right. Next question. What did you want to be when you were a child?
Um, uh, some kind of athlete, baseball, football. Those are my favorite. Um, yeah, that's really it. I never wanted to really work. But then once I could work, I worked too much. I was 16 years old, working full
Mm-hmm.
time and going to school, um, and I always enjoyed it, and I always did it well, whatever it was. But yeah, I never, outside of like playing football, playing baseball. Um, there's no real profession that I ever
Mm-hmm.
dreamed about doing.
Nice. All right. Next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
The Matrix is my favorite
Nice.
movie for sure. I love that movie. I saw that probably a dozen times in the theater when it first came out. I still watch it. If
Yes.
it shows up, I'll still watch it. I even like the sequels. I know they're not as good, and not as many people like them, but I still like the sequels.
Now the
So
sequels were pretty good, man. I think they did put a lot of effort and the twins, the fight with the twins, and how they could, you know, just phase out and be inside a car. I think that was pretty cool. The car chases, all the fights scenes in the
yeah,
sequels was really powerful.
yeah. And then, but Chuck, have you ever seen Chuck? Did you ever watch that TV show?
Yes, yes, I have seen some of Chuck.
That's my favorite, and it's my, like, my wife is in her top three as well. So it's a show that I've got to enjoy, with her. And we've watched it
Nice.
from start to finish more than once. And,
Wow.
it's got the right amount of comedy and action and just, silliness um, yeah, I love it too because, I've been able to enjoy it with her. So,
Nice. Yeah, my wife watched Chuck religiously, but I never got into it because I got left behind, I guess. I was more into Seinfeld at that time, maybe. I can't remember when it started, so I might have to go back and watch some Chuck, and the actor and what he's able to do, what he's been able to do with the Shazam movie. I think
yeah.
he's done some really awesome work, and he's just giddy about just getting that role and being able to do such an amazing job.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. That's a good one. I love that show. It was when, just thinking about it, like, brings a smile. So we're talking
Nice. All right, next one. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been interested in being an actor, so
Not
um,
being an actor, but a character.
a character.
So imagine being able to play Shazam or being that character or being Iron Man or something
Right.
like that.
All right. Well, uh, yeah, crazy. That's an interesting question. Well, let's just stick with the Matrix then. Let me just play Neo, and I'll
Yes,
you know
absolutely, best answer ever.
yeah.
Be Neo. Yes. The one of the coolest part about the Matrix was how he grew as a person. Like in every movie, you see the character hero arc, right? How they grow. I think that's my favorite part because it almost feels like we're as entrepreneurs ever growing to struggle through struggle to struggle. So seeing that they started from there and ending over here, and seeing what we're doing with what we come up with what our passionate about, I think it just lines up so perfectly in that we just have to keep going to see that success.
Yeah, it's funny here, and like anybody that's read Expert Secrets from Russell Brunson, the
Mm,
hero's two journeys, right? And so movies just follow that script all the
yeah,
time, right? Like you see the one path that Neo or someone is going on, but then the stuff that you don't expect is that other path that happens, and the growth that you are talking about.
yeah,
You want him to achieve the result that they set out and win, but then all the other stuff that happens underneath is pretty cool. And for sure, 100%, I agree with you. Like being an entrepreneur, if we're not going through these two journeys, most likely we're not growing, and
yeah,
our business is not growing either.
exactly. Very well said. Very well said. All right, last question. I don't know if you're ready for this,
Oh,
but if you were a board game, what would it be?
I was a board game. Does it have to be a board game? Can it be another game?
No, it has to be a board game.
It has to be a board game. Gosh. Okay. Um, Growing up, one of my favorite board games was Stratego,
Mm,
and I liked gosh, it's been 30 years since I played that, but I liked the ability it's not a politics, but left and right, like you got to strategize to be able to conquer the area. And um, it wasn't as simple or black and white as some other games. And
yeah.
but that was one of my favorite games for sure. And I nowadays don't play too many board games. I play more like card games. And Phase 10, like that's my favorite family go-to game.
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
if you're familiar with that one, but I play it with my parents and my kids and my sister, and we can get anybody around the table and play Phase 10, and I'm happy, and
Nice.
everybody has a little fun. So
Fantastic. I'll have to check out that card game Phase 10. Strategico sounds like a really cool game, and if you're very strategy oriented, check out Stratego. Stratego. I don't even know how to
I
say
don't
it.
even know if they still make it, but yeah,
They probably do. I mean, there's there's about a few thousand new board games coming out every month. It's the same as books because people find different ways to be creative, different ways to get a message across. We even found a board game that was all around soccer. Like you can play soccer on a board game. Like
Nice.
it was mind blowing. You're rolling a dice to see how far you've kicked the ball. It's amazing.
Nice.
Fantastic. Well, Cory, this was a ton of fun talking with you here on Hacks and Hobbies. Where can my audience find you and where can they learn more about what you're doing and what's happening?
Yeah, well, definitely on the social media platforms, you can find me. It's Cory E, so CORYE 22 on Facebook and Instagram. I've got a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/now22. And then, of course, nowmydream22.com. Those are probably the easiest and best way to connect or find me right now.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, Cory. We'll be sure to include the links to your locations in the show notes. Thanks so much again. Have an awesome day.
You too. It's been a blast and a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yep, absolutely. We'll talk soon. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You can find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.